Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown between two mighty warriors. On the left-hand side, leading the forces of the Skaven is Papa Palpatine, the fearsome warlord, up against Lord Lever. And I absolutely love the name there. I don't know if he means he leaves his lords behind to get killed, or if he has a sneaky little lever he opens up and the enemies fall into a black hole of doom. We'll have to wait and see. Wait for the forces of the Skaven here on Alpine Ridge. It looks like we have a couple of gutter runners up in the front lines. A real pesky unit to deal with. They have snare nets, poison, a big bucket ton of annoyance to really hunt down, kind of working in a similar role to chameleon skinks. For the front line, we've gone cheap and incredibly uncheerful. Skaven slaves are going to be forming the main battle line, and clan rats in the secondary formation. All the way through the back, we have Skaven slave slingers. These guys are dirt cheap. Yes, they don't do too much damage while throwing those little pebbles, but they certainly add up. Now, with 105 troops in a unit, eventually you're going to pack a bit of a punch. We have a load of rat ogres, 1, 2, 3 it would seem, in the centre of the battle, here to counter-initiate enemies which do bomb rush in, chaos spawn, minotaurs and the like, including the pit fighters of Hell's Deep, a unit I'm a massive fan of. These guys do have berserk, and not only that, they look so cool. Look at them just swaggering forward with their greyish, gooey glow. We have a Plague Priest as well, coming in with all the goodies. It looks like we're coming in with Vermin Tide, Bless with Filth, Pestilent Breath and Pestilent Birth. Leading the forces, we are going to have Frot the Unclean and a Brood Horror, an old school classic combo people have been using now for a couple of months. Frot the Unclean, though having gained slight nerfs, is still very potent and deadly in this current meta, coming with a Beast Pack, Creature Killer and Master Controller. For the Beastmen hordes, it looks like we have some Vanguarded Destroyers of Drakwold, as well as the Blackhorn Ravengers, both taken to the high ground, and in the distance we have some Chaos Warhounds lurking in the forest. For the main battle line, it is going to be a mixture of Gore herds as well as Ungore raiders, and in the old school Chaos Spawn Rush, 4 units of these naked monstrosities of chaos. Only 10 armor means they're going to suffer really badly up against those slave slingers. However, they have pretty good pace and should be able to butcher their way through Skaven slaves very quickly. Butchers of Calvin Guard going to be bringing the pain as well. Regenerating Minotaurs is always a good fun time. We have Morga the Shadowgave coming in with the expected summons, as well as a Bray Shaman of Wild, who seems to be coming in with the Bray Scream, as well as that glorious Cygor summon. So without further ado, let's get this battle underway. Blackhorn Ravengers have taken to the hills, have a little cheeky little peek over top, and what do they see? 2 horrifically sized giant rats coming in, slaughtering them. The blood hunger is upon them. Nice little hit and run, not doing too much damage, but likewise taking basically none in return. We do have a Cygor summon going down. Not too many good targets for him to focus on. Maybe wants to aim for the Plague Priest, who's not going to be the best at dodging on his mighty contraption. Bray Shaman does burst down the hill, led by the Blackhorn Ravengers, although they do start to check their own charges. He continues to go in straight after Frot the Unclean, which is a really bad time. He needs to pull back as quickly as possible. Brood Horror and Frot coming in. Rat Ogre's looking to pin him in place with a summon in the back line. This could be a disaster, but beautiful micro coming in from the Beastman player, coming down with a Bray Scream to hold the enemy back, and then pulling through his own troops. But he's going to have to commit now a ton of Chaos Spawn and Butchers to this big old blob fight in a desperate attempt to save the Bray Shaman. It looks like he has managed to do just that, however. Chaos Spawn now driving their way through into the enemy lines. Looks like the Cygor is about to get under pressure from some rather nasty Rat Ogres, who actually decide, you know what, he's best just to leave on his own. We can hunt down those Chaos Spawn instead. They're going to be a tastier morsel to eat. Over in the main engagement, looks like we have some big buffs and debuffs going down, but Let's Boy Filth is popped on the Rat Ogres, and this summon unit of Rat Ogres must be getting so much value. Creature Killer is down, he's fighting a ton of Chaos Spawn and Butchers. The Butchers are indeed now pulled out, as well as the Bray Shaman. Ungore raiders continue to rain fire down on those Brood Horrors, and in the back line, some Chaos Warhounds have been terrified off. Pretty messy display so far. It is real blood and thunder. Chaos Warhounds are now feasting upon the flesh of the Skaven slave slingers. Should be able to break this unit rather quickly before hopping onto the next one. And these guys are launching their pebbles in, doing massive damage to the Chaos Spawn, particularly with the help of the Gutter Runners here. And there's a big core of missile presence still active for the Skaven forces. Looks like the Summoner Chaos Spawner has gone down here in the centre of the battlefield to surround the Pit Fighters of Hell's Deep and the Brood Horror. The sneaky little rat, though, does manage to squeeze and scream its way to freedom. Ungore is getting a little bit caught up here. A nice summon in the back has threatened them. It is going to be some clan rats. Butchers of Calvin Guard have been sent to deal with them. Plague Priest as well is a little overextended at the moment, but with the help of Frot the Unclean, it is going to be holding back the enemy, buying more and more time for the Skaven slave slingers and gutter runners to really pour in that damage. Looks like the right-hand side has been protected due to some good play with the Clan Rats forcing off those Chaos Warhounds. And just look at this firing Pit of Doom. Really well positioned as well if you have an overarching view. These Chaos Spawn can only rush in so many directions. No matter which way they go, they're going to get counterfired by Gutter Runners, which is going to be a big problem. It looks like some of the Chaos Spawn are starting to disappear into the Sweet Night. Pitfires of Hell's Deep have been dealt with. The Brood Horror is also really struggling. Morgan the Shadowgrave giving him 1 or 2 pieces of his mind. Likewise, the Plague Priest is getting beaten up now by the Butchers of Kalkengard, who are doing a good job down there. However, Frot the Unclean coming into the assassination attempt, bounding over his own troops to try to get at that Brave Shaman, who is now terrified. He did surprisingly well considering he got very beat up early on, but now down to 75 health. There's very little chance of him returning to the fray. Particularly if Frot manages to kill him, then he certainly, obviously, will be doomed. Looks like that's just what he attempts, but he does miss his shots. Instead, finding himself in the clutches of some Ungor raiders. Chaos Spawn desperately trying to pursue the Brood Horror, but it's very quick and should be able to escape, particularly with the help here of some Skaven slaves. Chaos Spawn tried to get into the back line to shut down these pesky slingers, but the surviving Rat Ogres do come in to hold the line, and now just an outcry and pour of missiles come in. Chaos Spawn getting dragged down. There are some more Chaos Warhounds in the back line. He can bounce over here to try and save the day. It looks like they are going to be used instead to force off the Plague Priest. And this is something I always highlight for newer players if you are watching this video. Always look for these opportunities. This really cheap unit of Chaos Warhounds is going to be used to hop on top of the Plague Priest. And it's still got 1,100 health left and a bucket ton of Winds of Magic. So it is a really good idea to get this off the field as quickly as possible. And it's going to pull the balance of power pretty much dead even at the moment. Some of the slingers are going down. The Beastmen have finally broken through that front line, although the rallying Rat Ogres are going to be once again pouring into the fray. But the missile pressure is so much. Blackhorn Ravagers probably want to move out over to this flank and really try to put pressure on the Skaven slaves and allow the Minotaurs to clear up the tougher, scarier troops. In the back lines, looks like the Brood Horror is a little bit in a scary situation. Ungor Raiders, 2 units in fact, are going to be able to crossfire into him. Gore Herds pushing up the hill, and it looks like 2 units of Chaos Spawn will be mopping up the Clan Rats, although a ton of pressure still pouring in from the Skaven Slave Slingers, and the push of the Beastmen is starting to stutter and fall. Morgan the Shadowgrave going after Frot the Unclean. He's getting assisted now by the Butchers of Kalkengard, which is a good idea. The Blackhorn Ravagers really need to start shutting down the range pressure. That missile damage is really racking up. Brood Horror seems to be darting back and forth, looking to try to juke the Ungor Raiders, and these guys need to hit their shots. Brood Horrors don't have the best leadership. We see a big pour of arrows comes in and doing massive damage. The Brood Horror is wavering, although disgustingly quick, and if it gets in, its morale will be boosted by winning the engagement, but oh my god! The Ungors is trying to show the Skaven Slave Slingers that they're also here, and they're also can do some pretty good work. Looks like Brood Horror is pretty much done for. In the main battle line, though, Morga has been beaten back by the mighty Frot the Unclean, and the Butchers of Kalkengard are fleeing for their lives. Now, there's still 6 models here, so if they can somehow be rescued, maybe by some of the Warhounds coming back, if there's any alive, looks like there are 2 on this right-hand side, that's a lot of regeneration they can do to bring themselves back into the fray. But if Morgan the Shadowgrave goes down here, and he certainly will be chased to the ends of the world, if he goes down, I think that is going to be game, because Beastmen don't have the best leadership throughout. Ungor Raiders continue to pour fire in now onto Gutter Runners and Clan Rats, allowing the Chaos Spawn to also beat them down. Destroys Drakwold getting a nice surround up on the high ground here, but Morgan the Shadowgrave just not having a good time whatsoever. Skaven Slave Slingers have used up the majority of their ammunition, so certainly a good day for them. In the distance, we do have Warhounds are beating back Skaven Slave Slingers and hunting off troops where possible, but Morgan the Shadowgrave shatters, and with that, the Skaven scream victorious. Very well played to these 2 champions, Palpatine and Lord Lever. Awesome to see some units you don't get to see terribly often either. One, not many people play Beastmen nowadays, although they can be considered a pretty good counter to Skaven. They're very good at rushing and swarming, although likewise the low leadership does mean they struggle up against Hell Pit Abominations, Rat Ogres and all that kind of crazy stuff. 20 stacks are pretty common now, but what's not common is not bringing Poison Wind Globadiers and Poison Wind Mortars, units which the Beastmen can rush into the back line. Instead, you bring units where, hey, if you rush in and destroy me, I'm worth basically nothing, but if you leave me alive, I am going to do pretty good damage, at least for their value. So let's have a little look. Skaven Slave Slingers, not huge kills across the board, but 581 damage value, 467, 795, 854, 375. performing extremely well. These guys are disgustingly cheap. Now, we'll go through the rest of the damage dealt and damage value of the other units in just a second, but if you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a big old thumbs up. It really does help push the video out to more people, and comment down below. Feel free to say what you liked about the video, feel free to say what you would like to see in the future, or simply leave a quack. Really is up to you. And also, if you haven't subscribed already, why not? We drop videos every single day on Total War Warhammer, as well as a couple of streams, like 1, 2 to 3 times a week, depending on what's going on. And we have some very exciting stuff planned for the next week coming. Also, if you'd like to see replays up on the channel from yourself, feel free to join my Discord. There's a link down below in the description. You can hang out with a load of cool people, see some pictures of ducks, send replays, get involved in weekly events and challenges. It is a really good fun time. Also, I do have a link to my Patreon down below if you want to support the channel in any other way. But anyway, let's have a little look at the good stuff. So, Frot the Unclean, very powerful indeed. 2,553 damage value, 9,631 damage dealt. Really good micro by Palpatine. Knowing when to push Frot and when to pull him out is very, very important. And he did that masterfully, making sure he could hold back the Beastmen as long as possible without getting himself killed. Unfortunately, the Plague Priest did do a good job kind of holding back the enemy, 1.2k damage value, but due to good micro by Lord Lever, was indeed chased off the field and routed. But by then, it had got some pretty good work in and done some really nice summons. Across the board, of course, the Skaven Slaves and Clarets aren't really going to get too much value, to be honest, but that's not what they're here for. They're here to allow the ranged troops to really shine. Both the Gutter Runners performed really well, 993 damage value on this unit, 7.5k damage dealt. The other one, 873, that poison also proven invaluable. Now, the Ratogers across the board, apart from the Pitfires of Hell's Deep, who still didn't pay for themselves, they got a solid 996 damage value. Didn't really perform amazing, but they did their job, right, which was to hold back the enemy, allow those slaves and gutter runners to just pour on the fire, slowly whittle down the Beastmen, and allow Frot and the Brood Horde to get on key targets. 685 damage value on this ugly fella. For the Beastmen forces, Morga the Shadow gave pretty good all round. 621 damage of value isn't insane, but he did tank a lot of damage as well. Likewise, the Brave Shaman managed to get 696 damage value plus a Cygor summon. Not too bad considering the early Leroy Jenkins approach. Across the board for the Destroyers of Drakworld and the Gore Herds, they didn't perform amazing, unfortunately. The Blackhorn Ravagers the best, 633 damage value, but it was going to be a bit of a struggle up against this build. Unger Raiders performed really well though. 490 damage value isn't insane, but 910 is, particularly for such a low-cost unit. And if you guys want an emphasis on how cheap the Skaven Slave Slingers are and how kind of almost a waste of a time it feels to target them down, this unit of Warhounds got 159 kills and only 219 damage value. Wild. The other one performing a bit better, hunting down the Plague Priest with the 627. Chaosborn, for the most part, did struggle. It looks like one unit got 1,195, but all the others kind of around the 500 mark and lower. Again, their low armor not going to be too good up against the mass amount of Pebbles. Butchers of Kalangard as well, 1,000 damage value, but still not quite paying for themselves. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this one. Until next time, peace. And as always, stay awesome.